I needed to remedy the fact that I only had one white top and it was a knit. So now I have a woven, and with the same pattern I made a dress, and that dress is a thrift flip because I bought the dress used. Look at this fake button placket with little rectangle buttons, so precious. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I have a fun hack for you today, how to do a center front placket that's fake with little buttons. It looks pretty realistic and it's so easy. You can add that to any top just to give it something special. I have another thrift flip for you, upcycle, refashion. I know you've been loving those and I've been loving them as well. So you might see that quite frequently because I have quite a little stash to get through. Some of them have even been in my stash for years. I am using patterns for them, so sometimes you'll see one made out of fresh fabric from the boat and the other version is going to be made from another used garment. So I think that'll be fun for you. It's fun for me as well. And the pattern I've used this time is the Harmony from Love Notions. This is the Feature Friday pattern for today. If you don't know what the Feature Friday is, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Every Friday Love Notions selects one pattern that is on sale for that Friday, and it's $5, which is over 60% off the regular price. The patterns are planned way in advance and they only get featured every 18 months up to a 2-year cycle. So it's a good time to get them. I do frequently have videos about them, but not every single time. And I just love repeating my patterns. What can I say? I repeat these so much because there's so much potential with them. I don't believe in making a pattern just a single time because there's a whole process of fitting, getting used to the construction, and why not enjoy the process over and over? And then every single time that you do it again, it just gets so much more relaxing and so much easier. And it's a pattern I've used quite a few times in the past. You can find my playlist for my Harmony makes down below where you can see all the details. My affiliate link, of course, if you purchase through there, I make a small commission that supports the work that I do here on YouTube. And also my general Love Notions playlist, which is huge. You can get a lot of inspiration and ideas and hacks. I do repeat the patterns, and every time I do them again, I add something different, and today's no exception. It's a swing style, so if you like the Laundry Day Tee from Love Notions, that is a free pattern. That one is for knit fabrics. If you like that style, the woven version of this would sort of be the Harmony because it's a swing style as well, but it's designed for woven fabrics. I think the drapier fabrics are going to always look nicer with a design that has a swing to it, has a little bit more volume. I think the fabric needs to just flow and drape on your body rather than using something stiff like cotton. My opinion. I really love it. It's super nice to wear. It's a top that you really just enjoy wearing to live your life because there's nothing constricting, but then it's not super shapeless either. Just because it's a swing style doesn't mean it's a sack on you. There's quite nice shaping with the bust darts on the side. The regular bust and the full bust option have that bust dart. Full bust option has a larger dart intake and a little bit more ease. And then at the back, it's got a really nice shaped back that takes away a lot of that excess pulling that you might get at the lower back. So it's a really nice design in my opinion. This is one I made last year. This is today's outfit on a warm winter day. I can't count how many times I've worn this black Harmony with my glissando stretch denim skirt. This exact outfit. You have plenty of room at the waist and hips. There you can see the center back seam and the shaping. And what gives this one a special touch is that applique on the front. I really love this one. I think it's a piece I'm going to enjoy for as long as this fabric will last because it's a staple. Here's a fun casual look with my black Harmony and my recently made white denim Allegro pants. Basic black and white outfit but with really fun zebra sneakers. I think this is really cool, really fun. I love these sneakers so much, and with a basic outfit like this, I like having something in my outfit be just a little bit more bold. In this case it's the footwear, and I really enjoy this one. I always love black and white together. It's a really safe combination for me. Really just easy to grab these two and just walk out the door like this. And here's an all black look with my black denim legato jeans, also from Love Notions. I've got really high heels here, but it's a block heel and there's a tiny platform there. It makes them really comfortable. In this case, because everything's black, I have a handbag that has a monogram on it. Just really nice fun colors in gray and black. I think gives it that something that I need. I know a lot of people think dressing with all black is a little bit boring and too much, and some people can't wear black. I do really enjoy dressing all in black, and I'm not not going to a funeral or anything like that. I just like it. There is a hack I did in the past and it's quite detailed, and what I did there was just rotate that dart into volume here on the neckline, and I made a facing inside with a little casing, and then you get this gathered effect here on the neckline. This is one of the ones I made. I made this just before the pandemic started. I remember so well doing the hack and enjoying it. This is a rayon linen blend, the same fabric as my black version that you just saw, only red. This is size large with a regular bust. My most recent one's an extra large with a regular bust. Even though it's a size smaller than what I am at the moment, I think I can still pull it off. It's just got a little bit less ease, a little bit less swing, let's say. It's still comfortable. I can still move around the blouse. I don't feel constricted, you know. This one's a little shorter. I did that shorter, personal preference. There's the back. This is the hack. I have no bust dart because I rotated that dart and closed it and took up all the volume to this area on the top. And in the inside, I have a facing with a casing and a little drawstring. It's fixed in place, but I could make it tighter if I wanted. And everything inside is French seam. Very happy I can still wear it. Although the intended fit has more ease than this one, it still works. Still one of my most favorite hacks and makes that I've done. It's so good and the harmony was perfect for it. I only have one white top in my whole wardrobe and it's the Terra tunic. I didn't make it like a tunic, I made it like a top. It's a white knit material that looks like embroidery and glaze, you know, that embroidered cotton type situation, but it's a knit. And that is the only white top I have, and that can't be right, right? And I thought the harmony was going to be perfect to have a really nice, easy wearing top that's flowy, that can go over anything. So that's what I did. My fabric choice is rayon twill, which is a good fabric choice for white, I think, because it's not sheer. If you choose really lightweight 100% rayon, that is completely sheer, which means wearing a cami underneath and layers I don't want to wear. But instead, the rayon twill I find is not transparent, it's just heavier, but it still has that lovely, lovely drape. I decided to do a little hack in the center front, which is add a fake button placket. I actually took the buttons off a dress I thrifted with polka dots. I really thought those buttons were so beautiful and they really didn't shine on that dress because the polka dots were too distracting and the polka dots are round and the buttons are rectangles. So I always knew I was going to take those buttons off and use them for something else. So that's what I've done because it's a pretty simple white top, but I think the fake button placket and these different buttons give it that extra little detail that a top like this needs. So let's just see a few details about this top. This is the fabric folded and the fabric is right sides up. The detail I'm going to do in the center front needs the fabric to be right sides up. And along the fold, I've just basted it to keep it together. From this fold, I want to measure 3/4 inch, 2 centimeters, and that is the distance I'm going to place my pattern piece. I'm going to have an excess here all the way from here down to the hem at the center front of 3/4 inch. This is how I'm going to place my pattern piece. I'm just going to cut this like that and then just follow along and cut the rest of the blouse. And I have the fold there already held on by basting stitches. And all I'm going to do to make this fake center placket is sew at 3/4 inch from the fold, from here all the way down, and then I'll show you what comes next. But it's so easy. I'm going to use the cutest buttons. They're rectangles and they measure 1/2 inch, so that's why I decided to make the pleat at 3/4. The fake placket's going to be a little wider than the buttons right there. I know it's going to be really hard to see what's going on here because the pattern piece is white and so is the fabric. I'd shown you up closer what I was doing here with the center front. I'm just putting it 3/4 inch away from the fold and I'm going to sew that down like a little pleat, and that's going to become a fake button placket. Otherwise the pattern's all the same, and because I have nice white fabric here, one length of fabric is going to be enough to cut my pieces. So the front is here and then I just flip the back so I have more space and it's going to fit just right. Under a yard. I'm not going to use my fabric to make bias tape because I have enough to make a cami. I'm just going to use satin bias tape for the binding and it should be pretty simple. I like patterns that have a center back seam because I can align that along the selvage edge parallel there. So it ends up saving more fabric. It's just easier to place, and also that center back seam has all the shaping that's going to give you a really nice fit. Even though this is a swing style and there's going to be plenty of ease, the shaping on the bust and the shaping on the back makes all the difference, so it doesn't look really, really boxy. The pin cam basting is just keeping that fold in place without it going anywhere. But to sew this at 3/4, I'm just basting that on the metal plate underneath. So it's pretty easy to keep a really straight seam there. I'm sewing on the right side of the fabric. Before I keep going, I'm just gonna stay stitch this neckline so it doesn't stretch out because I need to manipulate all of this area quite a bit. So I'll just make sure this is safe, and I'll sew on the edge from the shoulder into the center on both sides. So what comes next is super easy. All you have to do is keep that seam there in the middle and then center the volume of this pleat. Distribute half to one side, half to the other, really neatly like that. And then once I've got it pressed and neat, I'm gonna edge stitch on this side, and I'm gonna leave this side loose so it looks more realistic like a button placket. I'm a little nervous about working with white fabric. I'm not used to it and I'm scared of staining it. Here I'm at the iron just pressing this pleat, and I've got a silk organza cloth on top so I don't put the heat directly on the rayon twill. This has the risk of getting shiny if the temperature is too hot, and I do want it relatively hot to set that little pleat there. There you can see it. That's the seam, volume pressed to either side, and I've hand basted that right there in the middle before pressing just to make sure the fabric wasn't going to move anywhere. Now I'm just going to edge stitch on this side, leave that loose. I love how this looks. It's so delicate, it's so pretty. I'm going to be sewing the buttons on horizontally like that, just centered over there. And this is 1/2 inch. That's why I made my fake placket 3/4 inch. It just depends on your button. Just look at the size of your button and make your placket a little bigger. I don't know how I'm going to show you this because it's really hard. Tell me what to do to not stain your garments. Look, when I washed this and it was hanging outside, a bird pooped on it. When I was ironing, that happened right there. I was giving it the final press and the iron gave me that little stain right there. So upsetting. I did my binding with satin bias tape. I do have enough to make a cami, so I didn't want to use my fabric on that. The center back seam is pressed open so it's nice and flat on the other side. And here's my fake button placket. I really hope the camera can pick the white. It's so hard to film white. So it's top stitched on just that edge, and then this edge is loose. That's the seam of the pleat I did in there. And look at these buttons. They're so pretty. They're prettier in person, I'm sure. The camera is not like our eyes. The bust darts are not too noticeable, but you can see that the dart volume there pressed down. And there's just simple side seams and a simple hem. I just serged the bottom and pressed it up. I think it's lovely. I think the fit is amazing, and it's gonna fill up a huge hole I have in my wardrobe. I could have styled this 10, 20 different ways. White can go over a lot of things, and I think this style can go over a lot of styles of bottoms. So let's just see a few options, mixing and matching with other things I've made already, you've already seen on the channel. My new white harmony blouse is really hard to film, but you get the gist. I think white with denim always looks really nice. I love this little detail of the fake button placket on the front. I think it adds something special. I didn't just want to make a basic white top. I wanted something there, and I think that gives it all the detail that I want. It was super easy to do. You can see how to do that on my channel. I'm just really loving the feel of this fabric. Wearing white is something very foreign for me, but the style of this blouse is just so wearable, so comfortable. I know that's gonna motivate me to wear more white. Ever since I made these really bold summer key pants last year, I knew I wanted to have a white top to pair with. I've only been using navy so far. The print is just so bright. I wouldn't wear red on top. I think that would just be too much. I've done a half tuck on the side just because the pants are wide and so is the top, so just to give it a little bit more balance there. This outfit, it feels like I'm wearing absolutely nothing. It's just so light on my skin and so fresh. I love the sensation. So having another option with white on the top is really good. And yeah, it's a bit much, right? All white here, everything's white except for the sandals. Those are gold leather, and I have my white Allegro pants that I just made a few days ago, all in white. Let's see if I have the courage to step out of the house without the fear of getting dirty. If you are newer to sewing, sometimes you might feel intimidated by extra seams in a garment if you're trying to sew something simple. Don't be put off by the center back seam. It's beautiful, the shaping it gives is amazing. I think it wouldn't be the same without it. If I tried to eliminate that and put it on the fold, it would literally from the back just look like a sack. We're not flat, we have curves in the front and the back of us. We have a shape, it's a body. And I think fabric should try to follow that. with the shapes of the pattern pieces. I think that center back seam is amazing. It gives you really nice shaping. Bust darts are amazing. They shape the garment to fit the protrusion we have on the front. And I think it's just always going to improve the fit on the sides. It's just going to be smoother. Your garment's going to fit nicely in the center front. It's not going to be shorter in the center front. So don't be afraid of them, just practice them, and don't be put off by them and thinking, oh, I wish this garment had no darts and no center back seam. Then it wouldn't be the same thing, it would just be a boxy sack. And that's not the point. This is really well made, and I think even though it's got a nice amount of ease and it's comfortable to wear, you're not going to look like you're wearing a sack. Who wants to do that, you know? I don't. So about my thrifted dress, I bought this months and months ago. I'm sure wherever you live locally, you're sort of aware of the brands around your area that are good quality, that use good materials, that sort of thing. After living in Brazil for 6 years, there are some brands that I know are good quality, expensive-ish, and some of these brands have been around for decades. They were even here in the late 90s when I lived in Brazil back then. And if you're from Brazil, you probably know the brand Herring, and it makes really good quality clothing. You find them in all the malls, you buy online, and you always know the cotton t-shirts are the best. They use Pima cotton, and the woven garments are also super good quality. So when I saw this one listed online, I knew it was going to be a good quality fabric. People post the photos, up close, details, and if you don't know about fabric, you don't know about fabric. But if you do, you do. So I could immediately tell that this was a rayon twill. The label said 100% viscose, which is rayon. They call rayon viscose over here. I generally try to not buy garments that are used if it's that really thin 100% rayon that's just the plain weave, really lightweight, no. But if it's a rayon twill, I consider it because it's such nicer quality. They tend to last longer. They have the same amazing drape. They're not transparent. They wrinkle a little bit less as well. I don't know about you, but when I go into a shop or a mall or I see a large crowd of people, I'm immediately drawn to certain types of colors and prints and combinations, and I'll see it from here and I'll go straight there. If I would have seen this in a shop, I would have gone straight to look at it because the print is just so pretty. It was a maxi dress. It was not my size. My poor chest was just totally flat. I was pancake. It was just really constricting. So that didn't bother me because I still knew I had enough fabric to use from sort of the armhole down. I had a lot of fabric. It was a really wide maxi dress. So I knew I was going to have enough fabric to just use the lower section of the dress and make the harmony in a swing style dress. I'd never lengthened it into a dress before. I'd only made the tops. There's no official dress option here, but it's so easiest to just follow the same angle and then you get a swing type dress. That was my goal here, and just let me show you a little bit about it. After deconstructing this dress, I pressed it, I neatened it up, folded it, and placed it along my table. As you can see, the dress is super long because even the top part of the bodice that I'm not going to use is hanging off the table. So it was a maxi dress even for me. I knew I had enough fabric to place my pattern pieces here. I scooted my front pattern piece as high as it could go on my fabric until I touched basically the edge of the fabric, and I was left with all this excess. So I knew I wanted to make a swing dress. I was open to making a top if this wasn't enough, but I have enough for a dress. Because I've made the harmony before, I was able to just put one on and measure how much I want to add to make it hit mid-knee. And in my case, that was 38 centimeters. So I'm just making some marks following this curve to lengthen the same amount from the side seam down to the center front. I'm just using my tape measure there to draw a line that follows the same angle that the swing style is having, so it's getting slightly wider as I make it longer. And I'm just drawing all of this in with my friction pen. Then I can just cut it out. Here you're seeing me cut the bottom piece, but I'll just keep cutting up higher where the dart and everything is for the front piece. Here you can see my back pattern piece placed on the back part of this original dress. The original dress had a back seam, which makes the process easier. And you can see the pattern is right there at the edge of the fabric. Remember, these patterns already have seam allowance, so I don't really need to leave any excess fabric around there. And you can see the nice shaping on the back. I think it's really good. I am going to even out these hems because the original harmony has a lower hem on the back, the original design, but I don't really need that for my swing dress. So I've just placed my front pattern piece on top, aligning the side seams. To do that properly, I did close off that bust dart there on the paper, and then I just traced the shape of the front hem to this back pattern piece. And from that line is that I'm going to measure the amount I need to add evenly. I'm measuring from the edge of the paper just on the side, but then I'm measuring from that line I did that evens out the hems in the front and the back, and I'm adding the same amount I added to the front, 38 centimeters in my case. For the back, I'm gonna draw the side seam with an actual ruler. I think it's a nicer option. For the front, I did it with my tape measure, but just align it and keep going in the same angle. Don't just go outwards or inwards from the original angle of the swing style, or else it's just not gonna hang properly. And then once I've got the curves of the hem sorted and the side seams, then I can just keep cutting out like usual and then sew up the dress as normal. With the little bits left over that I had on the top where the armhole neckline area from the original dress was, I wasn't going to be able to make bias tape from those sections because they were so small. When you cut on the bias, maybe I could have squeezed it out, but it would have had so many seams, it would have ended up bulky. So I took the time to unpick the binding from all this neckline area. Originally, I was just going to get rid of that because who wants to unpick binding, right? But I took the time to unpick it because I knew I could reuse that again. I didn't want to use a contrast fabric either. I really didn't want to make binding, let's be honest. I was not in the right headspace. I'm pressed for time at this moment. I'm trying to do a lot of things. So yeah, if I could just unpick that and reuse it, I was all happy. And here's my swing dress. It's so lovely. Look at these colors. I do like these prints that are not completely defined. Like, what is this? It's just blobs, right? Just like if someone did some artwork on fabric, and I love that. And the colors are so vibrant. Reds and navy and gray and white. It's just so gorgeous. Here is my center back seam right there, pressed open. I used binding, and I used the technique that you wrap the binding around the neckline so I don't lose any height here. So it's basically just wrapped around, exposed binding right there on the armholes. Remember, I have a very detailed video about how to do binding 3 ways. This is how the thumbnail looks, and you can see in detail how I do these different styles of binding. For this one, I did exposed. For the white one, you saw that the binding is inside, and that's because it's store-bought satin bias tape. I never want that seen. I don't think it's pretty. I think it does accomplish the task of finishing the armhole and neckline neatly, but I tuck it to the inside because who wants to see that? I don't. Because I could salvage the binding of the main fabric, I just did it exposed. I don't think either or technique is harder to do than the other. They do take a while to do. Any type of binding takes a while to do if you want it to look really nice. So I take my time. Usually the dress is sewn in like a few minutes, and then all the time spent making these garments are the neckline and the binding. And the center back seam is just longer, side seams. Hem. The hem is curved, so I have a small hem allowance, just about ½ an inch. I wouldn't do more than that when I have a curved hem. For me, if I have an upper chest, this area, and a bust that fits nice, and I have some shaping on the back, I'm fine with having all that ease, you know. I don't have to define my waist and show off my hourglass figure all the time. It's just, I don't live my life like that. So for me, if I'm wearing something like this that's a little bit more voluminous, all I would do is just wear some heels, and that's how I would dress up the dress. And then if I want to put a layering piece on top, then I would wear a belt. That's just to reduce the bulk around the waist area with the jacket on top or whatever I'm wearing. That's just sort of the way I dress myself. Anyway, let's see this one styled a few ways on its own with a few layering pieces. Here is my harmony blouse lengthened into a swing style dress. It's so lovely. The wind is blowing, so you can see how this rayon twill drape, even though it is a heavier fabric, it still has that amazing drape, and I love that. Now you can see this one is sort of mid-knee, and I do that on purpose. You'll see later when I put a belt on it, it'll go up shorter. I'm really comfortable wearing something looser like this. I love that back seam. I think it gives it a little bit of shaping. I'm happy with how it fits on the neckline. It's not too low. The sleeveless armhole has really nice coverage. I never do the little slit on the back. I can just pull it on over my head, and I used the same binding that was in the original dress to do the binding on this one. My bust out there gives me great shaping. I don't always have to have a defined waist. I don't always have to be really cinched in. I'm very happy to wear a dress like this as long as the bust fits really well and have some shaping on the back. I'm happy, and this pattern is just perfect for it. Over here, I've just put a navy belt on, and you can see when you put a belt on, there's a little bit of blousing going on, which makes the hem a little shorter. And so with the belt on, I get the length above the knee, which is the shortest I would want. It's an option. If I was wearing the dress loose on its own, I'd probably just wear it without the belt. I just wanted to show you how that looks. I have all navy accessories here. I'm just old school that way. I will 100% wear the belt if I'm gonna put layers on top, as you'll see next. This is a denim look jersey. I made this sleeveless jacket. It's a Lumia from Green Style. I just made it sleeveless. This navy goes with everything, and I really like casual look here with the dress. Even though I'm wearing heels, they are block heels. I could walk around all day, and this is my version of being casual with a dress. And I definitely think you need a belt when you wear a layer on top, because it just reduces the bulk around the waist and just defines it a little bit. And here is a more autumn winter look. I have my Atenas denim jacket from Each to Stitch. I love these navy booties. Some people think that these types of booties cut your leg off and make your legs look shorter. I don't really buy into that, I suppose, because I have an unfair advantage because of my height. So I'm all in for wearing little booties with a dress and a little scarf, and this would actually be all the warmth that I need on a typical winter day here. So this would be my quote-unquote winter outfit here. Of course, keeping the belt and with a lovely dress underneath. I loved making these. I hope I can get this one to stay white for as long as possible. I know it's like a precious, delicate type of garment. And if I got this tiny stain while just making it, imagine how stained all our other clothes are and we don't know it. I'd rather not know. The evidence is just so easy to see on white fabric. I'm not used to that. I felt a certain way while I was sewing this, like I had to wash my hands at all times. I even went as far as to clean my sewing table. I do a deep cleaning every week, but I just cleaned it again. I even cleaned my sewing machine before starting to sew this thing. So yeah, that's the effect having white had on me. I hope this episode gave you some ideas. I know I added this center front placket onto this top, but you can do this with any top that you have. If you have a long dress in your wardrobe that you don't wear anymore, that's not your jam, you got sick of it, maybe it's old, whatever, and the fabric is still in great conditions, just remember you can use that lower part of the dress to make yourself a top. Don't forget to check out the Harmony for $5. I love it. I know it's a pattern I'm not going to stop making because it's super nice to wear. Very wearable, like wearable, wearable, wearable. And I'll see you soon. Have an amazing weekend of sewing if that's what you do. Bye.